Okay, let's go look. Alright, so we have an interesting proposition for you today. We think that in modern liberal democracies, where you have a criminal justice system, and people go through the criminal justice system, get sentenced, get tried, where the only option on the table right now for heinous crimes is to send people to prison for life. We think that in a society like this, the death penalty should be an option, for a couple of different reasons. The first reason why we think that the criminal justice system exists in the first place is to protect society. And we think this happens in a couple of different ways. Like, we already believe that certain individuals shouldn't be allowed to roam free among other individuals after they've committed, things that we generally find to be bad. Like, if you rob a store, you're probably not going to be able to walk free if the courts find you guilty. They're going to send you to jail, they're going to make you pay some kind of a fine. So given that we already sort of have this sort of punishment structure, we believe that people who do bad things should be punished to some extent. We think that it's also important to consider what happens to the rest of society when these individuals are either are incarcerated or possibly allowed to walk free among them. We think that the only way to remove these people from society and protect them from people who perpetrate really heinous crimes, who, like, think about it, like, most of the time are going to be a little bit psychologically not quite there. We think there's no way to 100% protect against people repeating heinous crimes or being released back into society on legal technicalities or whatever, unless we execute them. Okay, thanks Alexa, really interesting points there. So I have a couple of responses to jail and why jail in itself is not, I guess, the correct response to people who commit really heinous crimes. So I guess I'm going to start first of all by saying that obviously, like, the courts aren't totally infallible. There are going to be mistakes made. You can't have 100% correct sentencing all of the time. But here's the thing, even when you send somebody to jail for a really long time, say you sentence someone to like 80 years in prison versus a death penalty, even if you find out at the end of 80 years that they were innocent the whole time, they're never going to get those 80 years of life back. And you can say, like, we can give them money, we can give them, like, some years of life with their family left, but at the end of 80 years in prison, you're not the same person anymore. It's not like you can just return to life and just pick up where things left off. That's never the case. So, the system makes mistakes. But we think that what outweighs the risk that somebody is going to be wrongfully jailed or put to death is the risk that people in general are going to pose to society if we don't have a mechanism like the death penalty in place. So prison is problematic for a number of reasons. First of all, they're really overcrowded, they cost a ton of money to run, and the prison system is sort of endemic to breeding violence and things like that. So, like, there's violent there's gangs in prison all the time. First of all, like, you basically have to join a gang in prison if you're going to survive. Without doing that, without joining a gang, without, like, sort of entering this cycle of violence, there's basically, the chances are stacked against you that you're going to make it out of there alive. So given that we don't think prison necessarily is rehabilitative in the way that people want us to believe, we think that the death penalty is ultimately better for what we're trying to